So, Miss Pengrino, we are back, and this time you've finished The Bride of Frankenstein. Miss Pengrino, what did you think of The Bride of Frankenstein?
She wasn't in it.
That's kind of lame.
Yes, okay, so Bride of Frankenstein, the sequel to Frankenstein. Of course, we watched that movie a few weeks ago, and now you've watched the sequel, Bride of Frankenstein. Yeah, so it's not...
Really?
If you've never seen this movie before, it's not what you think at all, is it?
No, it should be more like Frankenstein learns, or
The teaching of Frankenstein?
the teaching of Frankenstein. I don't know, but it has really nothing to do with the bride.
Well, I mean, where were you gonna go at that point with a sequel? By the way, I'm all monstery. I've got my official monster hat there. No, is it over here? There she is. There's the
Jack
Bride of
Skellington.
Frankenstein. Yeah, and there's the Bride of Frankenstein. And take a look at this. Can we zoom in on that, Steve? Take a look at that. I don't know if
We don't have a Steve, so get a little
I
closer.
don't know if it's focus. Focus.
There
it is.
we go.
That is a Frankenstein ring. That's right. I have a Frankenstein ring because we go all out here.
Oh shit, here we go again.
No, but seriously, this movie, believe it or not, being a sequel is actually the more popular of Frankenstein movies.
Well, so it definitely was more entertaining than the first. There was a lot more going on, a lot more action, more attention-grabbing things than the first one. Stupidly attention-grabbing.
Right.
Awful. Absolutely awful.
And there's a reason for that. Notoriously, James Whale, the director of the first film, did not want to do a sequel. Frankenstein was the first film from the Universal horror genre to get a sequel. It just that Frankenstein was just so, even back then, it's the same story. Frankenstein was just so popular, they were like, we got to keep this going. Let's do it again.
Everybody loves good Frankenstein.
Right. But there was no sequel to the Mary Shelley novel.
No.
So that's why it's interesting. At the beginning of the movie, you start out in the 1800s with Mary Shelley. And
Which
it's
I
like,
was very confused.
What comes next, Mary? What's the next part of the story?
I do think it a shame, Mary, to end your story quite so suddenly.
That wasn't the end at all. Would you like to hear what happened after that?
But did you notice that the lady that plays Mary Shelley is the same lady that plays the bride at the end of the movie?
I did not realize that.
Ella Lancaster?
Sure.
I'm going to put her name up here. I forget her name. But she also plays Mary Shelley at the beginning of the movie. But yeah, there was no sequel. So so this was basically just Universal's way of cashing in on the Frankenstein name by making a sequel. And
Shock.
Right. But like I said, James Whale did not want to do a sequel. They begged him and he was like, all right, but we're going to do it my way. We're going to make it fun.
Or the highway.
Yeah, and we're going to make it fun and silly, and that's what this movie was. This movie is absurd, is it not?
It's so absurd.
It goes beyond being supernatural and just being downright silly. It's almost a parody of Frankenstein before Young Frankenstein. It's almost like a parody of that film because of the silliness. Like Dr. Pretorius, who is was he the mentor of Dr. Frankenstein?
I do believe him to be the mentor
of Dr. Frankenstein. And Dr. Pretorius, his way of creating new life is creating these little tiny
minis.
people in the jars.
And it's never... ask Hot Toddy, did he shrink them or did he make many people?
I think he made many people. I think that's the whole concept.
I believe so, because he said something about how he grew them, but they would only grow so much.
So it's weird. And so so he was like, okay, but I want to do what you did, Mr. Frankenstein.
I want to make a big one.
I want to make a big person.
As a big boy.
I'm a big boy. But like, yeah, I mean, the movie is kind of wacky at times. There's funny things that happen.
Well,
there's like romantic music playing while the monster is walking around. It's really weird.
It goes from just to now he like can say words, like all the things.
Well, and this is where you see some of the influence for Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
You see more of that in the sequels, the influence for Young Frankenstein, because in this movie, this is where he runs into the old man, the blind
guy.
old man, who's just wanting a friend, and so he comes in.
Friend.
So then he spends an absorbent amount of time with the old man, and the old man teaches him to talk, and so that's where we get the famous Frankenstein impersonation.
Right, good.
That's the funny thing about this movie is that it promotes addictions really bad.
Really, really bad.
Smoke good.
Good.
This is good. Smoke. Good.
It's like, basically, it's what's the word I'm looking for here? It's when you exploit. It's exploiting people's addictions. It's like, smoking is good for you. Drinking wine, even better. Enjoy. 2 words. Enjoy.
Okay.
So that doesn't age very well with that
No.
movie, but for this movie, it's funny. It works. This is why, because remember I told you in the last one, James Whale is kind of like the Tim Burton of his time because he was able to make these like creepy, atmospheric yet like poignant type horror films, and so that's kind of what he was about during that time period. And he really nailed it with the Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein.
There's no sense that this is scary at all. It's
Well-
absolutely ridiculous.
See, again, you have to kind of suspend that particular part of your brain. I said that in the Frankenstein review. You have to.
I get it.
These
It's back
movies
then.
are hard. These were what people found scary 100 years ago. You know, not what we find scary today. But I mean, you know, if you saw Frankenstein's monster just roaming about, would you not be scared?
I don't know. I feel like we have a lot more scary things in the world nowadays.
Yeah.
I hate it here.
I mean, no, he's a really giant, tall man. Okay,
Green Man. He's clearly been put together somehow.
right? And I would have been like, cool, zombie party.
What did you think of the movie?
I mean, it was entertaining, more entertaining than the first one. I am not going to sit and watch it often. No, it's not something I necessarily want to go back to. If you're a classic horror movie fan, it's better than the first one for sure.
Yeah.
So people got it right on that. You did. It's much better. I love how at the end he's like, "Oh, bride," and she's like,
Yeah.
"Like, I don't want, get away from me," and she's like all over Dr. Frankenstein.
And she wasn't all over. She was hoping he would protect her from the thing. And that's important to note. Spoiler: if you've never seen this movie, that's over 90 years old. The Bride of Frankenstein is created at the very end of the movie. Frankenstein's monster walks in, tries to make friends with the bride, and she's terrified
She's
of
not
him.
having it.
And he realizes that, you know, I'm just a monster to everybody. It's just the way it's going to be. And so because of that, he ends up killing himself, her, and Dr. Pretorius. Or does he? Of course, there's a third movie, Miss Pengrino. Actually, again, as stated before, there are 6 of these motherfuckers. We're only doing the first 3 because the other 3 are just silly.
But the bride is definitely dead.
The bride is definitely dead. Dr. Pretorius is definitely dead. But yeah, this movie, like I said, it holds up a lot more than the original Frankenstein. I think because it's so flamboyant, it's so kitschy, it's so silly.
It is.
You know, it's not really a horror movie. It's the last one is more horror, and again, we talked about it because it's so gothic and atmospheric, and again, that scene where Frankenstein's monster, Boris Karloff in the makeup, he walks into the room, it's completely silent. He turns around, you see that face, like that is creepy. Even to this day, that's still eerie. In this movie, he's just kind of wandering around doing his thing. This movie is nonsensical, but that was James Whale in a nutshell. Because he also did The Invisible Man, and that movie was just ridiculous too. There's just crazy things happening all the time.
Here we go gathering nuts in May on a cold and frosty morning. Whoops!
And that just was kind of his thing. It's like, let's just create movies that are just complete chaos.
The poor bride, though. Like, she was in it for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't even know if it was a full 30 seconds.
And we actually get the title in the movie too. The Bride of Frankenstein.
The Bride of Frankenstein.
That of course raises the question, is the monster called Frankenstein or not?
Right. Because the Bride of Frankenstein, they did marry in the movie.
Yes. See,
Dr. Frankenstein.
And I'm glad
they did marry.
I'm glad you brought that up because yes. So it's like basically alluding to both.
Yes.
Every movie alludes to both. Frankenstein is the doctor, but you also kind of associate that name with the monster. The second movie, Bride of Frankenstein, there is a bride that gets created for the monster, but finally Dr. Frankenstein marries his wife. That finally happens, and so she is now the Bride of Frankenstein. And then in this next movie we're going to see, there is no new monster that gets created for the monster. Spoilers, I'm just going to let you know. That would cause him to be the son. But there are two bits of son in the human realm. The main guy in the movie is the son of Frankenstein. His name is Wolfgang Frankenstein, I think. And then we also meet his son, so Henry Frankenstein's grandson as well. So it's like a double son of Frankenstein situation.
Frodrick.
No, it's not. No, that movie is not within line with the Universal movies.
Boo.
Yes, it would not be Frodrick Frankenstein. No, it would not.
Frodrick Frankenstein.
I used to think
it's
that.
Frederick.
I used to think that too, but then I realized, oh wait, the Universal movies has Dr. Frankenstein's Dr. Henry Frankenstein. The real Frankenstein name is Dr. Victor Frankenstein. That's what's in the book, and then they also go along with that in the Young Frankenstein. So it's not canon with the original horror monster movies. But Bride of Frankenstein, it's quintessential to be a part of the Universal Horror Monster movies. I mean, it is amazing that character has such a long-lasting impression when you're right, she's in it for maybe 1 minute. 1 to 2 minutes. That's about it that she's in the movie. And she has this long-lasting stand with her and the monster because, in folklore, they love each other. They go along with each other, and all that, but obviously that's not true. In the movies, she hates him, she kills her. So that's kind of how that works. But yeah, no, it's amazing how that character has made such an impact.
Right, and she's really not a character.
Universal,
she is,
yeah. Universal, if you remember a few years ago, they were trying to copy Marvel and DC and try to crank up their own cinematic universe, and they were going to do that with the horror movie monsters, the Universal horror movie. They redid The Mummy with Tom Cruise, which sucked.
No.
Oh God, they did.
You didn't know that? See,
No.
some people don't even remember that. I have it on Blu-ray if you ever want to watch
No
it.
thanks.
Don't watch it.
No thanks.
I love it. Look, Tom Cruise, you're great, but oh my God, that movie was awful.
An unmitigated disaster.
But anyway,
No.
they did The Mummy, and the plan was, Ms. Pengrino, that they were going to go straight and do Bride of Frankenstein. They weren't even going to do Frankenstein.
They were
going
just
to
gonna go straight to the Bride.
Bride of Frankenstein, because it's the more popular one. And I guess there was a way that you could make it work, just pretend like he was already there, I guess. I don't know. But it was a dumb idea. But, I do like the artistic style of this movie. I feel like this one Hollywood had finally realized what they needed to do in those moments of silence, those awkward moments of silence. Put music in there, and this was the first Frankenstein. Well, no, there's orchestrated music throughout. Like there's like intense music and stuff like that. Where it wasn't just dead silent.
That's
because
true.
In the original Frankenstein came out in 1931. They were still trying to, understand how to do sound movies. They thought all you need to do is talk. Well, no, you need something else to go along with it. Silent movies had music. Talkies had talk. Why not let's put that pink chocolate in that peanut butter and put them both together, and that's what they finally realized.
The pink chocolate in the peanut butter? You said pink chocolate and peanut butter?
No.
I'm a dumbass.
It made it more suspenseful. It made it more interesting. And then, like I said, it was just straight up wackadoo.
Wackadoo is an understatement, but sure.
But it's so much more artistic than the original
I
Frankenstein.
will say, it does hold your attention way better.
Yeah.
Which I think I've already said, but I'm going to say it again.
Which I warn you may not be the case with the third film.
Man.
It kind of goes back to its grassroots of trying to be eerie and weird. Like Bride of Frankenstein was basically like the Thor Ragnarok, where you had the first two Thors were like very serious, like brooding action hero, and then Ragnarok was like a comedy, and that's what Bride of Frankenstein. It was almost a comedy. It's almost silly, but lo and behold, it turned out to be a pretty good film.
It really did.
Is there any moment that stands out for you of that movie?
Um,
Guess not.
No!
I mean, I feel bad for the blind guy because they burned his house down.
Yeah, and really, if those
That's unfortunate.
if those hunters hadn't overreacted, it wouldn't have happened.
No, if the hunters had not overreacted, had they not shown up, like, I guess technically we wouldn't even have the series because Frankenstein would have been happy, or Frankenstein's monster would have been happy with his blind friend.
We can call him Frankenstein. So,
Frankenstein.
but
Would have been happy with
you
his blind friend. It would have been fine.
You
and life would have been great.
brought up a great point. We get back to that old adage. I brought it up in the last episode. Is it monster as metaphor, or is the monster truly a monster? See, in the first film, he's a monster, but like you also have sympathy for him because he doesn't understand. Like when he kills the little girl, he doesn't understand what he's done. He doesn't realize that he wasn't realize he was being aggressive. He just thought he was having fun with the little girl. Turns out he killed her, and so that's terrible. But in this movie, you really feel bad for him because he's like, I'm just trying to survive in this world. I didn't die in the fire. Now I'm just trying to live. The blind man taught me how to speak, how to think, how to feel, how to, express myself. And now
I love dead. Hate living.
People
what?
are dying. Everybody's blaming it on the monsters. And yes, some people
Well, the monster unfortunately, he does kill in this movie too.
He does kill a couple people, but more...
At the very beginning of the movie, he kills the parents of the little girl.
He does, but... Aha, gotcha there. But I think more of the people were dying because Professor What's-His-Face was killing them to get organs.
So that plays a role in it too, which also just proves that this whole thing should not have happened.
Yeah.
So
It's not all the monster's fault, man.
And then Dr. Frankenstein also becomes like a very, sad character because he's like, okay, he did this, but he regrets it. He doesn't want to do it anymore.
He wanted out, and then they had no choice.
You got this crazy old man that keeps trying to force him to do these things, and he doesn't want to do it. So it's really kind of horrible because these characters who seem scary and creepy and downright terrifying are now sympathetic characters, and you just feel bad for them. So yeah, it's monster as metaphor. So that's the thing about Frankenstein's monster in all of these movies is that you can never really pinpoint, do I feel bad for him, or is he a monster, or is he a little bit of both, or is it warranted that he feels this way? Because we just tonight we watched Friday the 13th Part 2, and Jason is a murderer. He is crazy. He needs to be stopped. But it's in this movie, not so much. You kind of lose that thread in the future Friday the 13th movies, but in this one, it really comes to pass that he was sad because he saw his mom get killed.
He must have seen the whole thing happen. He must have seen his mother get killed, and all just because she loved him. And he must be out there right now crying for a return, for resurrection.
And his mom was the only person that loved him and tried to protect him, and now she's gone, and now he has to pretty much just take care of himself, and so he's filled with hatred and rage at that point. Now, obviously, these people did not deserve what they got in any of these movies, but you can't help but feel a little bit bad for Jason because he doesn't, well, I mean, he understands, but like he has been through hell and back. So, literally, in Jason Goes to Hell. The Bride of Frankenstein's a good movie, though.
It is much better than the first.
See, I love all the Frankenstein movies. Frankenstein and Bride are my two favorite. I'm kind of not looking forward to watching Son of Frankenstein, but it's fine. We need to round out the trilogy, so we're going to do that.
Sure do.
But no, Bride of Frankenstein, fun movie. Like I said, it's not so much a horror-related film as it is. It's more science fiction. This one is, and I think more sci-fi and even a little humor, a little bit of comedy spread in there as well. Una O'Connor was in it, the lady that screams all the time.
the lady who screams all the time.
She's a favorite of James Wells, so like she elevates any. She's great comic relief and elevates any film. So. So, Bride of Frankenstein, that's another one. Add to your scary, spooky playlist. Go watch The Bride of Frankenstein. It's great. It's really great. It's great.
I love you, bitch. I ain't gonna never stop loving you, bitch.
But yeah, Bride of Frankenstein, as great as the movie is, though, I think you would agree, though, that this is a movie that really exploits people's addictions and promotes bad habits.
It kind of does.
So, don't smoke, don't drink, and if you have any bad habits, try to break them because it can be addicting.
It can.
Yeah.
Donut.
Donut good. Donut good.